Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to My Deep Guide. Today we are checking out the Kobo Clara 2e, the latest eco-reader from Kobo. Kobo have provided a review sample loan unit to me, and this is the thing that I'm reviewing, but full disclosure, they don't have any input on what I say or what I do, so it's a completely impartial review, mainly because my videos and my work is supported and sponsored, technically speaking, by you, or sponsored by me, but thanks to your support, by viewing, subscribing, and checking out the My Deep Guide /shop, My Daily Organizer 2023 has been released. So if you do like the work that I do and you would like to support My Deep Guide platform further, I invite you to check out the links down below and learn a little bit more about My Daily Organizer there. And now let's check out the Kobo Clara 2e. Alright, so here I'm testing out a new setup because I'm trying to improve the recording conditions, and this is just a test white background to kind of see how is that going to look like. So maybe I go back to my signature gray, which I really prefer, or maybe we do the white one, maybe black one, depending on stuff. But since Kobo Clara, this one that I have is black, it made sense to kind of put up a contrast here and see how that looks like. All right, so this is the package, how Kobo Clara 2e comes in. Pretty much standard, what we've come to expect from Kobo. And on the back you have the specifications, and they are the 6-inch HD e-ink Carta 1200 screen. You can listen to Kobo audiobooks via the Bluetooth headphones, not included. It has Frontlight Pro. It is actually waterproof, submersible waterproof, has Wi-Fi, and the 2E stands for made with recycled plastic, and it's also recycled packaging. Pretty freaking cool, right? So let's open it up, and in the box you get the quick start guide. Here we have our device itself. Now, I've opened it up before, so this is the protective screen that was on top, and in here you get the USB-C cable. So basically you get your device, USB-C cable, and a quick start guide. And here is the Kobo Clara 2e. And I gotta say that I really do like how it looks like. The first thing that strikes me is once I read that it's gonna be all recycled plastics and that the price is $129. So this is the, the entry level e-reader. I've had my experience with the entry-level and the Paperwhite Kindles, and they do not feel as good as this. This feels actually really well made, and it feels and it looks like as if it's of a higher price range, to be honest. And also, my previous experiences, whenever somebody says like, oh, made with recycled materials, you expect something kind of rough, or I don't know, something not as refined or smooth, but this one is anything but. So unless somebody told me, hey, this is made with recycled plastics, you honestly can't really tell the difference. So that, I think, is a really cool thing to see. Now, the design itself, pretty straightforward, as you are kind of used to. We have a recessed screen, very nice kind of matting down of the screen. So these are super strong lights, so the reflections are diffuse and pretty good. The front is black and the build quality is really good. On the bottom we have a USB-C, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing on the sides, there's nothing on the top, and as usual, the power button is on the back. The back is, as you can see, a nice kind of navy bluish color. The plastic itself is kind of scratchy, cheapish looking, but it is a cheaper kind of a device, so that makes sense. But it is actually pleasant to the touch, and it's not scratchy, and it doesn't feel as hard as this type of plastic usually does. So that's a good thing. You have the Rakuten Kobo logo here, and then you have this kind of pattern here, which is a relief and feels really good, looks really good, and basically is anti-skidding. And that for sure works. So you can very comfortably hold it with one hand at any given position. You can reorient it confidently, and you can just operate it with one hand without any problems. The thing that actually adds to that comfortable one-handed operation is that I think for me, two things, aside from the ribbed back here, which is definitely a good thing. First is it's very, very thin. And that is a really good thing. And it's not just thin, it also has a very nice profile. There are no sharp edges anywhere. Everything is super comfortable and basically made so that it sits in the hand quite nicely. And that's something that I really, really do like. And you feel it, really do feel it immediately as you are handling the device, which is not the case, for example, with Books Leaf. That's something that I really didn't like, and that one lacked that. Kobo Clara 2e definitely has a good overall hardware design, and the ergonomics are really good. The second important thing, apart from the thinness and the profile beveling, is the weight, which is super light. So this is really, really light, and just everything combined makes it carefree device. And when you actually couple the fact that it's submersible, waterproof as well, yeah, this just feels really cool. It just feels like good value, I think. If I spend $129 for something like this, and I open it up and I see a product like this, plus it's recycled plastics and it feels like this, I'm a happy puppy. So I didn't have that impression when I was trying out Kindle Paperwhites, the older generations, to be fair. So I will have to try out the newer generation, then compare with this and see if it has improved or not. But Paperwhite was thicker, was heavier, and it didn't feel as good as this one does, for example. But again, I'm talking about the previous generations of the Paperwhite. So we'll see, and I'll test out the newer Paperwhite and see how that compares to the Clara 2e. But overall, the design and the build quality of the Clara 2e, I really, really like it. Battery life on the Clara 2e, I measured it for reading performances and audiobook performances while having in-ear Bluetooth headphones connected. So first, the reading performance. I was manually reading and flipping pages for an hour, and I was flipping pages 3 pages per minute, so 1 page every 20 seconds. And I had Frontlight set at automatic at 20% intensity. And in that mode, it was spending under 2%, so over 1, but under 2% of battery life per hour, which means that in order to get a more accurate reading, I would have to do this for a much longer time, let's say 10 hours, but I can't really do that manually for 10 hours. But that means that you're roughly going to get, with the Frontlight on at 20%, 50 plus hours of continuous reading time like that. On the Clara 2e, which is really good. And that means that if you turn the Frontlight off, you're just gonna get even more battery life. As far as the audiobook and Bluetooth performance, of course, that's going to drain a lot more battery because you have continuous stream of data between the device and the Bluetooth earphones. And that one, in 1 hour, it took 16% of the battery life, which means that you're looking at roughly around 6.25 hours of continuous listening via Bluetooth per charge. All things considered, I think that for $129 and such a thin and 170 grams light device, the battery life on Clara 2e is excellent. This device has already been powered and updated to the latest version of the OS, and the power-up speed is actually quite good. So when you press power, then you have this one blinking. I don't know if you can see it because of the light that's really, really bright, but basically the power-up speed, this is a cold boot. This is not the device sleeping, but actually being off. I think it's completely reasonable and something that makes sense. I think it's probably going to be around 20-30 seconds. We'll see. And there you go. So I'll time that in the editing and then we'll see what's what. Once you power it on, if you are used to the Kobo environment, then there's absolutely nothing that's gonna surprise you. It is the Kobo environment. But one of the things that you probably will react to is the crispness and the sharpness and the responsiveness of the screen. So the Kobo Sage was really good, Ellipsa was also good, and Libra 2 was really good. I think Libra 2 is really excellent, but the very first thing that really struck me when I powered up the Clara 2e is simply the picture quality. The sharpness is really good, the contrast is calibrated kind of perfectly, and it just works really well out of the box. Here is the example of the Frontlight itself. I'm gonna move away my hand so that I don't give you shadows. But basically what you see here is lighting is coming from the window from the back side here. So this is fairly dark conditions, to be quite honest. But this is with the light, front light completely turned off. And then as you gradually start turning it on, so let's say 20%, which is something that I find to be very pleasing. And as you can see with the 20%, you're kind of matching the whiteness of a white paper here. So it's kind of a nice thing to have a direct comparison here with the white on white, and that also depends on the lighting conditions here. Now, of course, as you start increasing the front light, you can see that its uniformity is wonderful. So this is 50%, so now we're brighter than white, we are actually glowing. And when you go to all the way to 100%, you can see that it's not washing out the contrast and the crispness of the letters themselves. And furthermore, as usual, the uniformity of the light is pretty much bang on. Now, on top of that, you also have the control so that you can have it as a warm light or fully cold light or somewhere in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this would be like a 50% mix of the warm and cold light. And let's put a 50% intensity. And there we go. Why? Well, I don't know, 50-50, something like that. But basically what I do is I just turn it to auto so that it does its thing, however it wants to do it. And normally I keep it at around 15%. And for me, this is basically the setup that worked best in all of the conditions. And you can, if you want like perfect whiteness, to have that the screen white is basically paper white. For me, I think the value of 20 kind of very closely matches that. Overall, yeah, as excellent the screen is, so is the accompanying front light. So the overall package of the screen with the front light is exceptionally good on the Clara 2e. So all of the things that you have come to expect if you've used the Kobo device before, that's something that for me at least is synonymous with Kobo devices, and that is one of the best front lights in the industry. And Kobo Clara 2e definitely has that. That was not the case with the Ellipsa, so that's why it's worth actually mentioning this. So Ellipsa, unfortunately, is like is sticking out from that trend, but Clara 2e is definitely back on track with a brilliant front light. As far as the menus go, you have your regular My Books for your library, then you have Discover, and on Clara 2e, like with the other devices, we have the addition of, so you have your ebooks to browse your ebooks library, where you can buy new books and things like that. Then you have your audiobooks, so that's something that's relatively a new addition to the Kobo environment, and you have that on the Clara E. And you also have the Overdrive, where you can actually take out your books from the digital library that you might be a member of. In My Books themselves, everything is pretty much the standard thing, so you can sort your books by author, series, and your collections are also transferred if you synchronize your accounts everywhere. In the More section, you have your standard features, and you have the ability to actually access the Pocket synchronization if you get it to work. I simply can't get that to work, so I never get my articles actually there. And you have the standard beta features with the browser, which I really wouldn't recommend, so that's why I'm not really even showing it. It's fairly slow, but you have a large print mode, so All of these things that are basically standard with the Kobo environment. One thing that is lacking, and some people might notice, is that there is no Dropbox integration or synchronization. So Clara 2e currently does not have that functionality, and that definitely you have to kind of keep in mind. But that to me is really not a deal breaker, because you're just plugging a USB-C into your computer and transfer the files, and hey presto, you are done. And that's basically for the non-DRM protected files such as PDFs, EPUBs, all that kind of stuff can be imported here. And I really do like the filtering options here. I'm not sure if all of the options were there before, but you really have an extensive way to filter out your library, even if you are not using collections. You have purchased, imported, downloaded, finished, reading, unread, audiobooks, ebooks, all of these things. So it's really, really cool. So this way I'm looking for just my purchased books. So I just go to purchased, and then I can open up this one. This is the opening title of the book itself. And I'm just going to show you the example of clarity on the screen of Clara 2e. And I want to remind you that this is a 6-inch screen, and it just looks so good and crisp. The performance is actually really good, so very snappy and doesn't leave that much ghosting. The current setting is actually for each chapter to do a full screen refresh. So as you can see, I can really comfortably kind of navigate this. And again, the clarity and the quality of the screen is exceptionally good. You also have the option in the reader, if you go to the settings, you can turn the dark mode on, and then everything is going to be flipped so that the background is black and that the characters or the letters are white, and that looks like this. I like this mode, but I'm not a totally big fan of it, simply because at some point it will force you to actually pump up the Frontlight to be a little bit more intense, because you will have some reflection issues. So naturally, if you have a darker background, the reflections are going to pop up more. So that was my issue. But basically at nighttime, I didn't have any problems. It's just the daytime. As you can see here, under very bright conditions, you might have some reflections issues. But do keep in mind that these are exceptionally high lighting conditions here, so that's something to take into consideration. As far as your options go, everything as standard. So you have your standard formatting options, reading options. You can adjust your Frontlight by sliding up and down. You have your navigation options, bookmarking, and all of these kinds of things. So I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of the Kobo platform itself. So it works just as any other Kobo reader device does. Now, where things start to be a little bit different is if we go, I'm sorry that I'm missing these, but I'm working under a different angle, so I don't really see where I'm pressing. So I'm going to be missing some of the presses here and there. As I said, I'm getting used to the whole new setup still. Now, when we start to deal with PDFs themselves, things are okay, but could be better, and things work a little bit differently. So it really depends what kind of document you open up. First of all, when we open up documents, for example, this one, you can see that it is rather small, super small and tiny. And here we kind of encounter the first issue, and that is, while you do have an option which I really do like, which is you can format the width, or you can fit the height, or you can just simply slide the zoom, and that's great. So the zoom works, and that's really good. And then one finger drag basically drags around the page itself. First of all, the performance of that is not the best. It's usable, but it's not the best. And that's not my biggest problem. My biggest problem is that the usability of this method is extremely limited. It's becoming more and more a standard, and other readers have that capability, and I think that Kobo should consider at least implementing the following method. So you do have an option of zooming out. You also have an option of rotating, which is really good. So I can actually rotate this, and then I can fit the width. And this is really cool. And then I can maybe zoom in a little bit more to take these kind of margins off, and maybe that's great. Now, while you can kind of zoom around and slide around, well, first of all, if you're zooming around and you're in a landscape view, shouldn't the zoomed icon also be here? Just being pedantic here, but yeah, maybe that. But that's not my biggest problem. My biggest problem is that if you are in this zoom state and you have this kind of formatting that you do like, and now previously an unreadable document is fully usable and readable on the small format of the Clara 2e. The problem is that when I tap or slide onto the sides, well, we've crashed. Let's try on this one. So that's another problem, is it's not really too happy to deal with bigger or even not so big PDFs. But for example, in zoom state, if I just tap onto the side, first of all, it's very, very sluggish as far as responsiveness goes. You can see how long it takes. So tap, wait, slide. Tap, wait, slide. Tap, wait, slide. Tap, wait, slide. So depending on how many images and how complex the page is, it takes a while for Clara 2e to actually load and deal with these things. But the second issue is I never see the whole page. So the current setup expects me to, if I want to read the page in a zoomed state, that I would have to scroll and then read. And then when I'm done with the page, then tap to go to the next page and then scroll back up and then continue reading. That is backwards. There's no reason for it to work like that. There are countless examples of how this should work, which is you have a zoomed state, and as you tap the next page, it basically scrolls down to where the cutoff of the page was to show you the next of the page. And once you actually reach the end of the page, the next page is going to flip the page and start from the top, so that you can actually use the reader in this zoomed in state. So unfortunately, Kobo functionality doesn't have that yet. So that's a pretty big limitation as far as I'm concerned. And also the rotation, like we could have either a reset button so I can quickly reset to the default, or backwards rotation, because right now in order to actually go back to my original state, I have to, flip a whole circle and then I'm back. It's not a huge thing, but there's no reason in 2022 for a brand new product and an existing platform that's existed for a very long time not to have these things sorted out. If somebody asks, hey, do you have a black mode on the PDF reader? Let's see. Let me see what's going to happen with the images in the black mode. If I manage to get the hitbox. And yeah, this is the dark mode, and it's not really working, is it? On the PDFs. No. It's, let's see, is it turned on? Yeah, it's turned on, but it's doing nothing for PDFs. So the dark mode apparently doesn't work on PDFs. How does it handle drawings and things like that? So let's check out, for example, Snoopy's Storybox, and then this is ideal to actually switch to the side and fit to width. And here you get to experience just how crisp and wonderful the screen is. It really is a lovely, lovely looking screen. However, the responsiveness of the device, is really, really not that good. So let's see. Can we get it to react? Or is it going to crash? Because it does tend to crash from time to time on more data heavy documents. And you can see that responsiveness is really not that great. Now he kind of suddenly got many pages on its own. It's not that great, right? At least for me, it's not that great. Now I'm trying to get to the menu, so everything is very, very delayed. And I'm trying to get to the point where you have like several pages. There we go. So, okay, this one is not that best. So let's try, let me just see, I think the next one is actually 2 pages. Yeah, so it looks great. It really does look great. But, you know, it takes 1, 2, in my count, it takes like about 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds just by eyeballing it to flip a page like this. And that's not that good. You know, so all of the stuff in the PDFs, suddenly, you know, the Clara is kind of struggling. So, okay, that's images, and it's not happy with images. I have another document that I usually test out to see the stability of the system. And that one has the opening page of the document is a fairly large image. So let's see if and how long it takes for it to open it up. All right, so it did open it up, it didn't crash. Let's see the navigation. Well, okay, so something's kind of wrong here because there should be text here. So it looks like it's not too happy with this document being very heavy, and I'm trying to actually get to the menu. There we go, I got to the menu. Oh, okay, and go back. And all right, that actually makes sense because it's a small reader, so it's not meant to do these things. All right, but how can it handle a large book? So this is a 785 megabyte PDF, just text. And let's see if it can be handled. So let's see, next page. And this one doesn't have any images. This is all just text. All right, and we crashed. So it's not too happy with this document. Let's see, maybe if we scroll, maybe it's gonna kind of be able to start loading. All right, so it can load from scrolling, but you can see even when it's just text, it's not the speed of the EPUB. All right, so that takes quite a while. All right, let's try a light PDF, just text, something that's kind of super small. There we go, 829 kilobytes. That's small letters, but okay. You can see that the performance is, while it's much better than the previous documents, it's still a little bit slow. Then again, you have quite a bit of refreshing here. Let's try another document. All right, so just a regular kind of an abstract here. It's perfectly usable, and more importantly, I mean, you will never use it at this scale level, but I just want to illustrate the crispness of the screen and how it looks. It's pretty good. I'd like to test something here, so I'm just gonna zoom in so that we have let's say CCS concepts, and let's just see so that it's a nice readable size. Okay, I'm gonna center it around here and let it refresh, and we can see the crispness of the CCS concept at this zoom level in portrait mode. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my ruler and I'm gonna measure out roughly how big CCS concepts is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate this to the side to landscape mode, if I can manage to get the button, and I'm gonna zoom in and try to get CC concepts to be roughly the same screen size. There we go. So this is just a smidge bigger than what we had on the previous ones, and this is how the clarity of it looks like in the landscape mode at the same zoom level. Now I'm not entirely sure, maybe this is just a subjective impression. Maybe that's an optical illusion. But the reason why I'm doing this test is to actually see, when I examine the footage, if the crispness of the text is the same at the same zoom levels in portrait and landscape mode. But because my impression, at least subjective impression, is that some of the crispness is a little bit lost when you are in the landscape mode. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense or not, so this is why I'm actually doing this test, so that I can see it. When I was testing out the audiobooks, and it's pretty cool that you can just simply filter here and then go to audiobooks, and currently I just have one, and it's pretty cool. So I was doing a 1 hour continuous listen test to actually see how the battery consumption is with my Bluetooth headphones paired to the Clara 2E, and the pairing went without any problems. You just go to your settings, and then you have your Bluetooth connection, and then you just turn it on and connect to the device, and it worked flawlessly. One thing that didn't work flawlessly was when I was playing the audiobook. First of all, there's two things. The interface is good, but there's no way for it to work in the background. So while you're listening to the audiobook, that's all you're going to be able to do. So you cannot do anything else on the device while listening to the audiobook. As soon as you go out back to my books, for example, the audiobook will stop. The second thing was that while listening, you can actually switch the device to go to sleep, right? And it continues playing, which is totally fine. And the pause and the volume controls from my headphones worked flawlessly with this one. But sometimes when Kobo was sleeping and playing the audiobook, if I would pause the audiobook and then would try to resume it via the hardware keys on my headphones, it wouldn't work, and it would actually disconnect from the Bluetooth. This didn't happen if I would let it not sleep, and if I would just leave it with the screen on, that wouldn't happen. So yeah, when it's sleeping, it is losing the connection to the Bluetooth, which I guess it makes sense because it's asleep, but it's just something to definitely be aware of. And no, Clara does not have speakers, so the only way to actually listen to your audiobooks is via Bluetooth headphones, speakers, or your car as well, because you can actually hook it up via Bluetooth to your car and things like that, which I think is incidentally really cool, because you can just chuck this into your bag and hook it up to your car and then just play and control via the car controls. So pretty cool. So Kobo Clara 2E. Generally speaking, Kobo platform is not that good for PDFs. I've never found it that good. And of course, Kobo Clara is not going to make any difference there. So it's not going to be good for PDFs and handling these things, mainly because of the things that I've mentioned, lack of formatting and kind of ease of use and performance as well in this case. However, the majority of people are going to be looking at this device to be their Kobo reader. And as such, if you're going to be reading EPUBs and Kobo ebooks and you want to listen to Kobo audiobooks, then this is a really good device. I'm actually quite impressed by, as I said, the picture quality and the Frontlight and the eco-plastic notion is really important in today's day and age, yet it feels good, it looks good, and I think it's priced really well at $129 US. Now, at $179, so $50 more, you can get Kobo Libra 2, which is larger screen, it has buttons, and it's a bit of a step up. But that being said, the clarity and the crispness of the text here, the contrast, and the Frontlight itself on Kobo Clara 2E, I didn't mind it as a 6-inch screen. In fact, I think this is the nicest 6-inch screen that I have seen on an e-reader thus far. I have to check the latest generation of the Kindle Basic, because that one I think is 6 inches and the Paperlike is now 7 inches, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but still, I think that its direct competitor is going to be Paperlike, price-wise, I believe. So that would be also worth checking out, because on Paperlike you do get an extra inch, and I think that one also has an updated 1200 Carta screen. So I think a direct comparison between these two is warranted sometime in the future. But if you're looking at things right now and you're already in Kobo environment or ecosystem, so you have your Kobo books and you have some Kobo audiobooks, and you're looking to upgrade to, or to have like a pocket reader that's cheap and functional and really good for what it does, Kobo Clara 2e makes perfect sense. So Kobo Clara E, short summary: if you want to read Kobo books and listen to Kobo audiobooks for under $150, Clara 2e is a really good choice to make. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye.